Either way.
Yeah.
Mary, what was it like putting together this panel, bringing it together, being able to be in this moment after 2 years, we're back
I
in
know.
person?
I mean, it's so lovely. I was so thrilled when Jenna asked me to come back. I had done over Zoom for, I think, Comic-Con last year, or I don't know what is time, but I had done moderated a panel with another group of composers for them, and I just had such a great time, and I do really appreciate taking a look at how composition really shapes our stories. Like, it's just, it can make or break a whole movie. And so, yeah, just great to be back in person doing this panel. And yeah, it's just great to be able to ask, these questions and hear such interesting different answers. Because, you don't know exactly what the panelists are going to say, and I was just thrilled today. I felt everyone spoke so intelligently and passionately about their craft, and it's great to hear everyone seems to really love the projects that they're a part of, which is, that's the hope. So it's great to just be able to facilitate that and make a few silly jokes.
You asked at the panel, what were some of the scores that changed some people's lives? Instantly, I thought of several. I know all the panelists did too. What are some of yours?
It's funny. I was thinking about how it was funny. I asked that question. I was like, oh gosh, what is my answer? I was thinking the other day about just in the most thematic, fun, just gets me off my out of my seat. I don't know. There's a metaphor there. Just thinking about the world. I like Hans Zimmer's Pirates of the Caribbean score is just so fun.
I think anything Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's truly like, and Michael Giacchino is so emotional as well, and someone referenced John Williams in the original Star Wars. I mean, it's like there's just a lot of those very nostalgic pieces. I think there are probably a lot more scores that I love that I don't realize I do because of the way that they weave so beautifully into the story. I relate to this as an actor. Often when you're doing your job right, people aren't thinking about the fact that you're doing your job.
Yeah.
So, and I think, everyone in this room is a great example of that they, they create the energy and you still experience it. You know that the music's there, but it really makes you think about the story, not about the composition. So it's been fun going back. I'm in the process right now of producing a short film that my girlfriend Natty Goff wrote and we're acting in, but really on the producing side as well. And so we've been really going through and looking at movies that we love and shows that we love, or just anytime we watch something new and going, what are they doing here that really creates that emotional moment? And thinking of, okay, how are we going to shape that in our piece, and what kind of instrumentation will be best for this type of story? So I've definitely had a sharper eye on that as of late, so I'll have more answers in the future.
So when you first get a creative project, what do you do to get the creative juices flowing? What's the very first step in the process?
It's funny, we were just kind of talking about this. I think every project has a different process, depending on what's needed. I mean, I talk a lot about, certainly with Trek and being cast as a Klingon, it's always research-oriented for me, I would say. I'm definitely a geek and a nerd, and I love knowing as much as possible to help myself kind of both calm down and also, focus in on what excites me. But like with Trek, I just went through all the Klingon episodes. And,
they are some of the best ones, aren't they?
They are pretty great. I really did become such a fan of the Klingons, and it's so fun, too, to meet so many of those actors now and be like, hey, Gowron! Yeah.
Do you have an all-time favorite Klingon episode?
Well, I really do love Grilka's episode in Deep Space Nine.
Oh, yes.
With Quark. For me, it's such a fun mixture. Like, there's so much comedy, and she's such an intense, awesome. I obviously had an eye on the Klingon women, and really just loved her performance, and definitely, was inspired by her energy. That's a great one. And then Blood Oath as well.
Yeah.
With Dax is great. I definitely like Deep Space Nine a lot. Would you have a favorite Klingon episode?
I bounce around so much.
Yeah.
Those are great. I kind of like. I was watching Birthright the other day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the two-parter with the Klingon Civil War, and those were good too.
Yeah,
so.
those are great.
But I also like some of the original ones.
Yep.
So.
There's always good stuff there. But that's what I love in answering your question. Like I love to be able to have those reference points, so that I feel like I'm immersed in the world. And some roles, it's not a 50-year franchise, and there isn't a million episodes that you can watch. So sometimes it's more about the imaginary work that you have to do to create a character. But for me, it's images, sound. I love making playlists for my characters. That kind of always ends up
playlist
happening.
sounds interesting, though.
Yeah,
We know warping is opera, but
yeah. But I think it's whatever the character requires. It's kind of taking it a case by case basis.
great.
And then luckily, I've had experiences for the most part where your scene partner is great. That's another source of, and then directors and just being in creative environments where people allow you to explore and ask questions. Don't make you feel bad for asking questions. Obviously, there's certain questions that do your own research, but people that are interested in, who is this character and why do they walk the way they do or talk the way they do?
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. You mentioned you were working on a short film.
Yes.
What is it like working for you in all the different positions all around the camera? Being an actor, being an editor, being a director, being a writer, coming up with playlists, like figuring out this character. Like, what's your favorite part? Or do you just like a little bit of all of it?
It's funny because I definitely define myself as like an actor producer, and I think what's funny about that, I know I love performing, and I know that's like the forefront for me, what I want to create in my producing. But I think producer's also a position where I do get to dip my toe into kind of all the other stuff, and at least give my opinion on it. But growing up, like I was making little movies with my best friend, and we would edit them together on iMovie and stuff. So and like for school projects, I would always, if you could make a little movie version of the project, I would do that. So I do love the editing process, but what I'm so grateful for, and I'm actually producing this with Dr. Erin McDonald, who's the science consultant for all of Trek, and she's an excellent producer, and also coming from both her PhD in astrophysics and working for the government, she really knows how to organize things and find forms and stuff in a way that is not my strong suit. So I think we make a very good team in that way. I think we both have a certain galvanizing positive force, but we definitely, have different strengths. So I think it's finding someone like that you can really balance that with. And then what's been so cool, particularly with this short, is Nadi's written this incredible script that has inspired so many people as we continue to reach out, finding our DP. Which again, when the DP and the colorists are like talking on our Slack, I'm like, they're asking about like camera things and stuff. I'm like, I'm so glad they know what they're talking about. And then I'll look at it and go, that's pretty, or like, that's a nice color. But it's been really exciting to see how many people, from whatever creative angle, read a script and are inspired and go, I'd love to like create the props for this, or like I'd love to create the music for it. And I spoke to this a little on the panel that I just think it's so important that we illuminate how collaborative this art form is and how many people go into shaping it. And I'm really proud of the way we've assembled our crew too. It's been a mixture of people knowing people, but it's a very inclusive, diverse group, and it's just like the kind of room that I want to be a part of. So for me, I really do like, I've been owning the producer title more, and I have been producing more, but I think for me it really allows me to get a flavor of everything. And then be really grateful that there are people that are specifically skilled at certain things that I'm not as skilled in.
Okay, I got one real quick. What would your dream collaboration project be?
Ooh. Well, it's funny. I would just say, I'm right in the thick. We're in pre-production. We're about to go into production for this short, and the team that we've assembled, getting to work with my girlfriend, who's so incredibly brilliant and talented, and Erin, who's one of my best friends. Like getting to work with them. Like I just want that to keep happening. Like I would love the feature version of that. I would love to just keep creating spaces for everyone on this project who is just bringing their heart and soul because they care about the project. So I'd say, as much as there are plenty of people that I'd love to work with whose work inspires me. But I know for me, I think I'll be the most fulfilled if I'm part of creating those creative spaces. Like that's the dream for me, is to just keep collaborating with the people I love, and maybe just having more people give us some money to do it.
Perfect.
I think we got some very good.
Great. Thank you.